Hello everyone, I greet you in the name of God Almighty. My name is Apostle Newton Silas, and today we have a very interesting video to react to of Douglas Murray, dismantled anti-Israel journalist on a live debate. I believe that this is going to be a very interesting one, and I want us to hear their view on what they discuss between Israel and Hamas. So if today happens to be the first time of you checking out my channel, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it in the comment section and I'm going to check it out. So guys, before we get on to the video, I'm a theologian and I make this video not to discredit anyone's opinion, thought or belief, but this is basically for educational purposes, and I believe that at the end of this video we all are going to learn from this. So without any further ado, let's get down to this video and check this out.
And there is no law of war that says you're allowed to start a war and then complain when you lose it. And if Mahdi cares about the Palestinian casualties, as I'm sure he does, then tell your bosses in Qatar to tell their friends in Gaza to stop the war and give back the hostages. Gideon says Israel needs nothing more than criticism, as if Israel doesn't get criticism. Wow, he doesn't even read his own country's press. By the way, you said the other day in an interview, Gideon, I couldn't care less about the Jewish state, so we know very well where you're coming from. Let me just say a couple of things about that I didn't get to in my opening remarks, but are important. You know, if you didn't throng the streets of this city or any other for the actual genocide going on in Sudan, not the one that Mahdi and Gideon pretend is happening, but the actual genocide going on in Sudan, if you didn't spend weekend after weekend doing that, but you did come out for the post-October the 7th protests, you're an anti-Semite. If, like Mahdi once sent a tweet condemning that, it doesn't give you quite enough smoke cover. You know, if you protested not a bit, didn't set up a tent when Bashar al-Assad was killing 6 times the number of people in a decade that Israel and all of its enemies have lost in 75 years of war, you are an anti-Semite. And I would just add one other thing. I know that Mahdi has tried to reframe the motion. I'm not going to allow it either. You know, maybe there is somebody in the world. Pakistan was invented, created as a state around the same time as Israel. I reckon that if this debate tonight was about Pakistan started a lot of wars, it suffered a lot of wars, it suffered a lot of casualties, caused a lot of casualties. But you know what? If somebody said, I think Pakistan should be abolished. They just don't have the right to a state, and although they had one set up for them many decades ago, we should abolish it. I think people would say, And then if the person said, but, oh, by the way, although I want to abolish that state, I have no problem with the Pakistani people. Please, please, of course you would.
Thank you very much. Oof. Oof. I love the fact that Natasha started the speech by saying, our side cannot define Zionism, anti-Zionism, or anti-Semitism. So Gideon, you and I should just go check out the CN Tower, because I'm not sure what the debate's about. We're being told by the proposition that we must follow their definitions of what we're here to argue and vote about, which tells you how authoritarian that side of the motion. This debate for me tonight is fascinating, because for years Douglas has been the free speech warrior and I've been the guy saying there's no right to absolute free speech. Tonight I feel the roles are reversed. I'm here to say, what happened to free speech? What happened to the ability to criticize others, governments, countries, yes, political ideologies? Natasha, Theodore Herzl would be surprised to hear you say it wasn't a political ideology or a national movement. And I just find it fascinating that Natasha made it very clear that non-Jews cannot define anything to do with this. And then Douglas stepped up and accused every Jewish protester against Israel of being an anti-Semite, which I find offensive and ridiculous. Thousands upon thousands of Jews. You don't have to agree with them, remember. You don't have to agree with them. But they took their right to go out on the streets in Toronto, in DC, in New York, in London, in Paris, all over the world, in Tel Aviv, to protest against what's happening in Gaza. And Douglas, one of the world's most proud atheists, not Jewish as far as I know, just damned them all as anti-Semites. Wow, that speaks volumes about where this debate is going and who is defining what and how. As for Natasha's line and Douglas's line that if you don't support self-determination for a particular group, you're a bigot. Well, you know, we've already had a lot of votes, so I won't ask you to click. I don't have power over your clickers. But I'd love to know how many people in this room either were in the last Quebec referendum or supported it from afar. Because we're in Canada, where a bunch of people want to leave Canada and do their own thing. And I'm sure many people in this room legitimately oppose that. And no one says you're bigots towards the people of Quebec. Nobody says you're anti-French language. You're allowed to have a debate about whether Canada includes Quebec or not. And you know, my friend Peter Beinart, who is Jewish, just so Douglas will call him an anti-Semite later, as he pointed out, the Basques, the Catalans, the Kurds, the Scots, they don't have states. And if you oppose them having states, you're not an anti-Kurd bigot, you're not an anti-Scot bigot, you're not an anti-Catalan bigot. People have arguments all the time. There are 5,000 indigenous groups in the world today. According to the UN, there are 193 member states of the UN. You do the math, right? So this is ridiculous, this argument that we are being expected to believe that if you don't support Israel as it is currently constituted, with Jewish supremacy, as Gideon points out, that makes you an anti-Semite. It's an abuse of anti-Semitism. It empties at a very important concept, at a very urgent time of all meaning, in order to defend a country which, as Gideon has pointed out, and which Douglas seems to think is fine, has killed tens of thousands of innocent people in recent months.
That's a very interesting one, listening to Douglas Murray, you understand, making a point, you understand, concerning this Israel, you understand, and then the Hamas, okay? But then one very important point that Douglas raised in his remark was that you should not start a war, and then when you lose it, then you come up crying. Now, if you look at it in a sense this very way, that imagine that 7 October did not happen. With all this war going to happen, nothing could have happened. And one thing that people normally forget about war is, if in a sense war started, there is no laws, there are no rules in war. So when you initiate a war and the person decides, you understand, to respond, at that point in time, you can't be able to control the manner in which that person is going to respond to the aggression you started. You understand? You can't be able to control it. It is him who determines, you understand, whatever is going to do. So you can't be able to support, you understand, people who decide that Israel don't have right, you understand, to exist, and then therefore go there, commit genocide, kill the Jews, slaughter children, and then you want the government of Israel for them to fold their hands and watch you, you understand, commit such a crime. To some of you who are watching me currently in the studio, I want to ask you this very question, that in your respective country, what is the penalty if someone, you understand, kidnap, you understand, an individual in your own country? What is the penalty of it? In my own country, if you understand there's an issue of kidnapping, at that point in time, the law enforcement agency have right, you understand, to use live bullet, you understand, on the people. You know why? Because of why? They are taking people, you understand, against their will, and they are keeping them, you understand, against their will. So in the situation whereby the law enforcement agency, you understand, go after such people, and then they decide to be aggressive, you understand, to the law enforcement agency, at that point in time, they have right to even use live bullet, you understand, on them. So I don't understand why some people, you understand, should have problems with Israel going to Hamas in order to gain their people back. Very important thing and very simple thing that they can do is, one, just return back the hostage. That's all. Douglas is not saying anything, you understand, to he's just saying that return back, you understand, the hostages. When you return back to the hostages, that will be the end of the war. What should, you understand, the IDF, you understand, be doing, you understand, in Gaza? If you return back, you understand, the hostages. And that's what, you understand, they are talking about. They are not saying that they are happy being in Gaza. They are saying that return back to the hostages, and then we return back, you understand, to our places. But you don't expect them, you understand, as government that have a primary responsibility of protecting, you understand, its citizens, to fold its hands when its people or its citizens, you understand, has been taken, and not just about being taken, and some of them have been killed already. And then you expect the government, you understand, to sit down and watch. You taking, you understand, the government to the International Criminal Court. What difference does it make? Does it stop, you understand, the government from protecting, you understand, its citizens? That is why I says that you don't start a war and then come up, you understand, crying. That's exactly what, you understand, Douglas, you understand, is saying. You started it. So you want to stop the war, then why don't you stop it? Why don't you just return back, you understand, the hostages? It's as simple as that. So that everybody will live in peace. I don't think that, you understand, the Israeli, the IDF are happy being, you understand, in Gaza. Of course, they're supposed to be, you understand, in their country or protecting, you understand, their country. And then them being there, you understand, they are trying to protect, you understand, their citizens. And if we do not want this, then why not, you understand, we just come up and says that, okay, look, Hamas, return back these people so that everybody should be in peace. I think that that's exactly what, you understand, the Israeli want. I know that, you understand, some people may be confusing, you understand, what is happening, you understand, with the Jews and then the Zionists. We are not talking about the Zionists. We are talking about, you understand, the Jews, the proper Jews properly. We are talking about the Jews. You can't hate the Jews. That's why Douglas was trying to make an example, talking about, you understand, Pakistan, and says that, are you going to say that Pakistan to stop to exist, since Pakistan and Israel, you understand, maybe they existed, you understand, at the same time? Do you created, you understand, at the same, you understand, time? No, you will not say so. Why? Because of what? You love the people. So why would you say that, understand, the Israel as a country should not exist? You get the point? No, it has to what? To exist. Just like how Pakistan have right to exist. Just like how your respective, you understand, countries have right, you understand, to exist. But then you don't have to go to another country, invade another country, cause problem, and then when the country try to retaliate, then you come up crying of genocide. It does not make sense. So the simple thing is, just bring back, you understand, the people so that everyone will live in peace. This is what I want, and I believe that this is what majority of the people, you understand, also want. But then until then, that's when you got to realize that Hamas is not, you understand, having the interest of the Palestinian people at heart. Because if they do, they will not be doing anything that will jeopardize, you understand, their peace, or they will not make them, you understand, to live in peace. But this is the problem, you understand, they have caused for them. And nevertheless, we are not also saying that Israel should go about, you understand, killing innocent people. You get the point. We are not saying that Israel should go about, you understand, killing innocent people, you understand, in the process of trying to take back, you understand, the hostages. But nevertheless, things like that, you understand, do happen in war. And that is why the Holy says that what? War is not good. You should not be supporting, you understand, someone, you understand, that encouraging, you understand, war. And people, you understand, protesting against Israel and all that, why don't you protest, you understand, for them to return back to the people? And of course, like for instance, come to, you understand, to northern Nigeria, see what it is actually going there. Why don't you also protest, you understand, to save the people over there too? Don't you know the number of Christians, you understand, that are being killed in Nigeria? You can't come up, you understand, and be saying things that you have no idea of. And then you went on to start something, and then you expect, you understand, no any form of retribution. But nevertheless, I know that a lot of you will disagree with me, but it's okay. I'm okay with it, all right? But then I will try to respond to those I can respond to at the comment section, and may God bless you as you do so. So this is the end of my video. If you like my reaction, should like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section, and I'm going to check it out. So you remain blessed, and I see you in my next video. Goodbye.